Olivia woke up early to the sound of the mail slot clicking. It seemed like an ordinary day, the bright sunlight filtered through the curtains, and her cat, Milo, stretched lazily at the foot of the bed. She wrapped herself in her robe and decided to check the mail while Noah was still asleep. On the porch, she found the usual pile of envelopes and promotional flyers, but one stood out. It was a white, elegant envelope with golden lettering that read, "For Noah Carter, Personal." Her eyebrows arched in surprise, but she thought little of it. It could be a work-related letter or an invitation, after all. Olivia set the letters on the kitchen counter and started brewing coffee, but the unusual envelope lingered in her mind. It looked too personal, even intimate. Her curiosity got the best of her. "It's no big deal," she thought. "I'll just take a peek." Her fingers carefully tore open the edge of the envelope. Inside was a beautifully designed card adorned with delicate floral patterns. The text in the center stopped her cold. She read it several times to be sure she wasn't mistaken. "My dearest Noah, last night was so special. You are incredible, and I can't wait to see you again. Sophia." Olivia froze, her hands trembling as her mind raced. "Sophia? Dearest Noah?" She read the words again, hoping she had misunderstood. But the text remained the same, and a sinking pain gripped her chest. Her mind went back over the past few months. Noah often came home late, citing extra hours at work. His phone was always within arm's reach, and on more than one occasion, he had quickly turned off the screen when she glanced over. He had been more irritable, distant, but she had dismissed it as work stress. Now, it all began to make sense. Olivia rose from her seat and walked into the bedroom. Noah was still asleep, his face peaceful and carefree. A wave of anger surged through her. How could he do this to her? She wanted to yell, to throw the card at him, but she decided to wait until he woke up. When Noah finally walked into the kitchen, looking a bit disoriented from sleep, Olivia was already seated at the table with the card in front of her. She couldn't hold back any longer. "What is this?" she asked, sliding the card across the table toward him. Noah stopped in his tracks, his face freezing momentarily. He picked up the card and scanned its contents. His eyes widened briefly, but he quickly composed himself. "Where did you find this?" he asked, his voice calm but laced with tension. "In the mail," she replied coldly. "What does it mean, Noah? Who is Sophia?" Noah tried to maintain his composure, but Olivia noticed his fingers tightening around the card. "It must be a mistake," he said, avoiding her gaze. "Someone must have sent it to the wrong address." "A mistake?" Her voice rose. "It has your name on it. Do you think I'm that naive?" Noah attempted to change the subject. "Olivia, this is ridiculous. You know I'm always at work. I don't have time for this kind of nonsense." "Then why does this feel so real? Why do I feel like you're hiding something from me?" Her voice trembled, and she struggled to hold back tears. Noah placed the card back on the table and walked over to her. "You don't trust me?" "Olivia, I don't know who sent this, but it's obviously some kind of joke. Let's not blow this out of proportion." His words sounded convincing, but her heart refused to settle. Deep down, Olivia felt this was only the beginning of something bigger, something that might change their lives forever. After their tense conversation in the kitchen, Noah's behavior changed noticeably. He began spending more time with Olivia, paying attention to the little things he once overlooked. He brought her favorite flowers without reason, suggested evening walks after dinner, and even organized a spontaneous picnic in the park, reminiscent of their early years together. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, he wrapped his arm around her and quietly said, "Olivia, I know I haven't been the best husband lately. But you mean the world to me. I want you to know that." His words were so sincere that Olivia felt her heart soften. She didn't want to live in suspicion anymore. She wanted to believe the card was just a cruel joke, nothing more. However, Noah continued to come home late. When she asked about it, he would reply, It's just crazy at work. We've got deadlines to meet, and everyone's under pressure. The explanation sounded reasonable, and Olivia decided not to press him further. She felt guilty for doubting him without evidence. Yet, the thought of the card lingered in her mind, a bitter aftertaste that wouldn't go away. One evening, when Noah left his phone on the table and went to shower, Olivia couldn't resist. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. She quickly entered the password she had memorized from watching him unlock it before. She scrolled through messages, checked call logs, and even browsed his emails. But there was nothing suspicious. No hidden conversations, no unfamiliar contacts. She let out a sigh of relief, but felt a pang of guilt. Olivia had always seen herself as someone who trusted her partner, yet now she was the kind of person who secretly checked her husband's phone. When Noah returned to the room, she was already sitting on the couch, pretending to read a book, trying to appear calm. But inside, she wrestled with conflicting emotions. She wanted to trust him, but the doubt still lingered. The next day, Olivia met Claire at their favorite cafe. She needed someone to talk to but wasn't sure if opening up was the right choice. "What's wrong?" Claire immediately noticed the worry in her friend's eyes. "You look exhausted." Olivia sighed, lowered her gaze, and whispered, "I checked Noah's phone." Claire froze for a moment, then asked, "And? What did you find?" "Nothing. No suspicious messages, no strange contacts. Everything looked perfectly normal." But, Olivia trailed off, struggling to find the words. Claire leaned in closer. "But you still don't feel at ease?" "Yes. I feel like I've created this problem in my head," Olivia admitted. "Maybe that card was just someone's joke. And now I feel like I'm acting paranoid." Claire thought for a moment and then said, "Look, I get what you're going through. But let's think about this logically. Is Noah acting like himself?" "No," Olivia replied. "He's been more attentive than ever. He's trying to do nice things for me, even more than before." "That's a good thing," Claire nodded. "But you know that could also be his way of compensating for guilt." Olivia stared at her friend in surprise. "You think he's guilty after all?" Claire shrugged. "I'm not saying he is. I just want you to stay alert. If he truly has nothing to hide, you'll feel it. But if something's wrong, you'll notice that too." "What if I'm wrong?" Olivia asked. "What if I'm accusing him unfairly?" Claire looked her directly in the eyes. "You don't want to live with these doubts, right? You need the truth, no matter what it is." "But Olivia, the best decision will come when you're ready for it." Olivia nodded thoughtfully. Claire's words hit home but still left her with countless questions. She longed for peace, but even more, she longed for the truth. A few months passed, and life between Olivia and Noah seemed to settle into a warm rhythm. Noah continued showing her affection, and their relationship began to feel as tender as it once was. They took weekend trips out of the city, watched old movies they both loved, and even started planning a vacation to Italy. But one subject remained untouched between them. Years ago, they had dreamed of having a child, but their efforts had always ended in heartbreak. Doctors had said their chances were slim, and over time, the topic faded into silence. Olivia noticed how Noah avoided discussing it, and while it pained her too, she didn't want to force him into the conversation. One evening, as they were having dinner at home, Olivia decided it was time to address the topic. She couldn't carry this burden alone anymore. "Noah," she said softly, placing her fork on her plate, "can I ask you something?" He looked up from his food, wiping his hands with a napkin. "Of course. What's on your mind?" She hesitated for a moment but gathered her courage. "We haven't talked about having children in a long time." His face changed instantly. A shadow crossed his expression, and he lowered his eyes to the plate. "Olivia, why are you bringing this up now?" he asked, trying to keep his tone calm. "Because it's important to me," she replied, meeting his gaze. "I know it's been hard for both of us. But I don't want to leave it unspoken." You used to want this so much. Noah sighed, as if searching for the right words. I did, he admitted. But Olivia, we tried so many times. Every time, it just ended in disappointment and pain. I didn't want to put you through that again. And you? She asked, leaning closer. You went through it too. But we promised each other we wouldn't give up. Don't you remember how we said we'd try until we exhausted every possibility? Noah placed his hands on the table thoughtfully and looked at her. I remember, he said quietly. But sometimes, it feels like maybe it's just not meant for us, Olivia. We can still be happy without it. What if we can, though, she countered. I don't want to give up if there's even a sliver of hope. I'm willing to try again. His eyes filled with a mixture of emotions, regret, uncertainty, and tenderness. What if it doesn't work again? What if it just makes things worse between us? He asked, his voice almost breaking. Then at least we'll know we tried everything we could, she said firmly. But I don't want to keep avoiding this. We need to be honest with each other, Noah. He sat in silence for a moment, staring at her hands folded on the table. All right, he finally said. If this is something you truly want to try again, I'm with you. But this time, we have to be careful. I don't want it to tear us apart. Olivia felt a wave of hope rise in her chest. She reached out to squeeze his hand and smiled. We'll face it together, she said. I promise. They finished dinner in silence, but this time it was a silence of understanding. Though another challenging journey lay ahead, Olivia knew that together, they could face whatever trials awaited them. A few days after their heartfelt conversation, Olivia decided to take an important step, consulting a doctor. She reached out to a clinic where Dr. Emma Reeves, renowned for her compassion and professionalism, practiced. Emma immediately arranged a convenient time for their consultation. Olivia, don't worry, Emma reassured her over the phone. Come with Noah, and we'll discuss all the possible options. The next day, they arrived at the clinic together. During the drive, Noah was unusually quiet, giving only brief responses to Olivia's questions and avoiding prolonged conversation. Dr. Reeves welcomed them with a warm smile. It's lovely to meet you both, she said, gesturing for them to take a seat. Tell me how you're feeling and how I can help. Olivia hesitated momentarily but then took a deep breath and began. We've been trying to have a child for a long time, but our attempts have been unsuccessful. After several disappointments, we decided to take a break. But now, I want to try again, even though it's been hard for both of us. Emma nodded, listening intently. I understand how difficult this must be, she said. It's good that you've come to see a specialist. We'll do everything we can to help you. Noah, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke up. My priority is Olivia's safety, he said, glancing at his wife. That's a wonderful stance to take, Noah, Emma replied with an encouraging smile. We'll ensure that every step of the process prioritizes her well-being. First, we'll run some tests to assess your situation. Then I'll present you with several options, and you can choose what feels right for you. Their conversation lasted nearly an hour, with Emma answering all their questions patiently. When they left the office, Olivia felt a sense of calm. They had taken an important first step, and she felt reassured by Emma's guidance. As they walked through the clinic's lobby, Noah's expression suddenly shifted. He froze as if he had seen a ghost. Olivia noticed his reaction and asked. Noah, what's wrong? Nothing, he replied quickly, masking his unease. I just remembered I left my phone in the car. Olivia brushed it off, assuming it was nothing important, but Noah kept glancing over his shoulder. She didn't realize that only a few feet away stood Sophia, Noah's mistress. He recognized her instantly. Noah's heart pounded in his chest, and all he wanted was to disappear from this place. He gently took Olivia's hand. Shall we go now? He asked, trying to maintain his composure. In a minute, she replied, scrolling through her phone to check her messages. Noah started heading toward the exit, but just as he reached the door, he heard a familiar voice call out behind him. Noah? Sophia's voice cut through the tense air. Noah froze. Sophia walked closer, confusion lighting up her eyes. Olivia looked up, noticing the tension etched on his face. Do you know her? Olivia asked, her gaze shifting between the two. Yes, we know each other, Sophia replied, her eyes fixed on Noah. Her voice trembled with surprise. Noah, what are you doing here? Sophia, not now, he whispered, his voice barely audible. His pleading eyes begged her to understand. But Sophia couldn't hold back. Taking another step forward, her face shifted as her gaze landed on Olivia. Who is she? Sophia asked sharply, her tone edged with tension. Olivia raised an eyebrow, her confusion growing. She glanced from Sophia to Noah, trying to make sense of what was happening. She's my wife, Noah finally admitted, forcing the words out as though they were choking him. His voice carried a weight of defeat. Sophia's eyes widened in shock. She stepped back as though she had been struck. Your wife? She repeated, disbelief thick in her voice. You never told me you were married. How could you hide this from me? Olivia's stunned gaze darted between Sophia and Noah. Her heart pounded as though it might leap out of her chest. What is she talking about, Noah? She asked, coldly, her voice steady but frigid. Noah's panicked eyes shifted between the two women. He struggled to find words. It's not what you think, he began, but his tone was far from convincing. Not what we think? Sophia interrupted, her voice rising with anger. We've been seeing each other for over a year. You told me you were going through a rough patch, that's why you'd disappear sometimes. I believed you. And now I find out you've been married this entire time? Olivia felt the ground beneath her feet give way. You've been seeing her? She demanded, her voice shaking with fury. Is that true, Noah? I can explain, he stammered, his words feeble. But Olivia wasn't listening anymore. Tears welled up in her eyes as she stepped back, trying to put distance between herself and him. There's nothing to explain, Sophia spat, her voice filled with disgust. You betrayed not just your wife, but me too. How could you? Noah tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. His lies lay exposed, and there was no refuge in either woman's gaze. I trusted you, Olivia whispered, her voice soft but heavy with heartbreak. I believed in us. I believed in you. Sophia turned and walked away, leaving them alone in the middle of the clinic lobby. Olivia stood for a moment longer, staring at Noah. Her gaze was filled with a mix of hurt and disbelief. I can't believe this, she finally said, her voice breaking. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the clinic, leaving Noah standing there alone. He watched her retreating figure, the realization hitting him like a tidal wave. This time, he had gone too far. The damage was done, and there was no easy way to undo it. The ride home was almost entirely silent. Olivia stared blankly out of the car window, her heart a storm of emotions. Noah tried to say something several times, but each time, his words caught in his throat, as though he knew anything he said would only make things worse. When they arrived at the apartment, Olivia turned to him before they even removed their shoes. Sit down, she said firmly, pointing to the couch. Noah hesitated but eventually obeyed. His body was tense, his hands trembling slightly as he clasped them together. Olivia, please, let me explain, he began, but she cut him off with a sharp wave of her hand. No. First, I'll speak, her voice was calm, but an undercurrent of fury rippled beneath it. All this time, while I thought we were building a life together, you were lying to me. You betrayed me, Noah. How could you? Noah hung his head, unable to meet her gaze. It's not what you think, he started. Not what I think, she interrupted, her voice rising. You were seeing her for over a year. You spent time and emotions on her while I was here, fighting for us. How can you possibly say it's not what I think? He sat in silence, searching for words that could undo the damage. I made a mistake, he finally said, his voice low. I never wanted things to go this far. At first, it was just talking. And then, I didn't know how to stop. Olivia laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that cut through the room. Didn't know how to stop? You're a grown man, Noah. This wasn't some accident. This was a choice, a deliberate choice you made every single time you saw her. I never stopped loving you, he said softly. Those words only fueled her anger. Love, she spat. You call this love? Lying to me? Pretending everything was fine while you were giving your time and attention to another woman? How dare you talk about love? Noah finally lifted his head, tears pooling in his eyes. I know I ruined everything. But I want to fix it. Please, Olivia. Give me another chance. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a cold, resolute tone. Another chance? I gave you every chance, Noah. I trusted you. I defended you even when my friends were suspicious. But you destroyed all of that. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. I can't do this anymore. Tomorrow, I'm filing for divorce. Noah froze, as if struck. Olivia, please don't, he said, his voice breaking. We can rebuild this. I know I hurt you, but I'm ready to change. Change, she scoffed, shaking her head. Your words mean nothing. You should have changed when I was crying myself to sleep, thinking I couldn't have a child. You should have changed when I was holding us together, fighting for this marriage. But you chose a different path. And now, I'm choosing mine. Noah stood from the couch, stepping closer, but she backed away. Don't do this, Olivia, he whispered. We can get through this. She looked at him, her eyes devoid of warmth. No, Noah. We've already been through this. And you destroyed everything. This is the end. Turning away, she walked into the bedroom, leaving him standing alone in the living room. The weight of his actions pressed down on him, but he knew there was no way to undo the harm he'd caused. For Olivia, the path ahead would be difficult, but staying with him would have been even harder. This time, she chose herself. Olivia decided she needed a distraction and headed to the boutique where Claire worked. It had been a while since she'd seen her friend, and she hoped that a casual chat and some shopping would help ease the weight on her heart. Claire always had a way of making her feel better, and Olivia knew she wouldn't press for details unless she wanted to share. Olivia! Claire exclaimed brightly as soon as she spotted her friend entering the store. It's been ages since I've seen you. Come on, I have something new to show you. Olivia managed a small smile and followed Claire to the section with the new collection. For a brief moment, the colorful fabrics and friendly atmosphere distracted her from her worries. But her peace didn't last long. As Olivia turned toward the entrance, she froze. Sophia walked through the door, her confident stride faltering when she spotted Olivia. Olivia's heart skipped a beat, but she forced herself to maintain an outward composure. Sophia hesitated, and then, to Olivia's surprise, she started walking toward her. Claire, noticing Olivia's sudden tension, leaned closer. What's wrong? You look like you've just seen a ghost, she whispered. That's Sophia, Olivia murmured, barely moving her lips. Claire's eyes widened. Sophia? The Sophia? Why didn't you tell me anything? It's a long story. I was going to, but, Olivia began, but Sophia was already standing just a few feet away. Olivia? Sophia said softly, her voice trembling slightly. Olivia nodded, and for a moment, they just stared at each other in silence. Finally, Sophia spoke. I'm sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances, but I need to say something. I'm listening, Olivia said, her voice steady, despite the turmoil inside her. Sophia hesitated before taking a deep breath. I didn't know Noah was married. If I had known. I swear, I never would have, her voice broke, and she trailed off. Olivia studied her carefully. There was pain and regret in Sophia's eyes, but no malice. Olivia let out a slow breath. I believe you, she said at last. He lied to both of us. This is on him, not you. Sophia's eyes widened in surprise. You really think that? She asked, her voice filled with disbelief. Yes, Olivia said firmly. I know how convincing he can be, how good he is at hiding things. I was married to him for years and never suspected a thing. I can't blame you for trusting him too. Sophia looked as though she might cry. I'm so sorry, she said. The moment I found out the truth, I ended everything. He destroyed so much without even thinking about the consequences. A bitter smile crossed Olivia's lips. That's who he is. But you know what I've realized? I can't live in his lies anymore. Neither should you. We both deserve better. Sophia nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. You're so strong, Olivia. I wish I could be like you. We're both strong, Olivia replied. Because we're choosing ourselves over his deceit. Claire, who had been standing quietly nearby, finally spoke. I'm so proud of you, Olivia. The way you're handling all of this, it's incredible. Olivia smiled, though there was still sadness in her eyes. I didn't have a choice. Life goes on, and I want it to be my own, not dictated by someone else's lies. Sophia sighed deeply and said. Thank you for not hating me. I'll never forget this. Just promise yourself this, live honestly, and never let anyone pull you into a web of lies again, Olivia said. Sophia nodded, and with that, the two women said their goodbyes. As Sophia walked away, Claire wrapped an arm around Olivia. You did the right thing, Olivia, Claire said softly. Now it's time for a fresh start. After her conversation with Sophia and Claire, Olivia realized it was time to take back control of her life. Flipping through old photo albums one evening, she was reminded of her days working as a photographer in a small studio. It had been her first real job after graduating, and she had loved every moment of it. But after marrying Noah, he insisted she leave the job because there were too many men working there. Now that her marriage was behind her, Olivia decided it was time to rekindle her passion for photography. She found the contact information for her former employer, Mr. Grayson, and scheduled a meeting. When Olivia stepped into the studio, it felt as though time had stood still. The space was just as warm and creative as she remembered. Mr. Grayson greeted her with a genuine smile. Olivia. Is that really you? He exclaimed, walking toward her. I thought you'd forgotten all about us. Hello, Mr. Grayson, Olivia replied, slightly sheepish. No, I've always remembered this studio. It's just, life got complicated. He looked at her with curiosity and gestured for her to sit. Well, sit down. Tell me everything. What brings you back here? Olivia settled into the chair opposite him and took a deep breath. To be honest, I want to come back to work. I know it's been years, but photography has always been my passion. I'm ready to dive back in. Mr. Grayson raised his eyebrows in surprise. Come back? Olivia, you were one of the best. I still remember your work, it was phenomenal. But tell me, why did you leave in the first place? She hesitated, debating how much to share, but ultimately decided to be truthful. It was because of my ex-husband. He didn't want me working here. He said it wasn't a place for a married woman. I gave in, but I've regretted it ever since. Mr. Grayson paused, his face reflecting a mixture of disappointment and understanding. That's a shame. No one should ever hold you back from pursuing your talent. But you know what? I always believed you'd come back. People with natural gifts like yours don't disappear forever. His words warmed Olivia's heart. So, what do you think? Do you have a place for me? She asked, her voice tinged with nervousness. Mr. Grayson's smile widened. Of course, I do. I don't even have to think twice about it. We can get you started this week. Do you need some time to ease back into things? No, Olivia said with an eager grin. I'm ready now. Fantastic, he said, shaking her hand. Welcome back, Olivia. She left his office feeling like she'd taken the first real step toward rebuilding her life. The next day, Claire visited Olivia for tea, and she eagerly shared the news about her new job. Claire was ecstatic. I always knew you were talented, Claire gushed. You used to take the most incredible photos. And you know what? If you need a model, I'm your girl. Olivia laughed, feeling the warmth of her friend's encouragement. For the first time in a long time, her life was starting to feel meaningful again. She was no longer the woman living in someone else's shadow. Now, she was creating a life that was entirely her own. Working at the studio became a true salvation for Olivia. Every morning, she woke up with a sense of joy, and each workday brought new challenges and inspiration. Her love for photography, once silenced, was now blooming with renewed vigor. Every shot, every session brought her immense satisfaction. She experimented with lighting and composition, striving to uncover what made each client unique. Her work began attracting attention, clients recommended her to others, and the studio saw an influx of new bookings. One day, during a corporate photo shoot for a local company, she met Luke, a tall, charming man with an irresistible smile. He worked in the company's marketing department and was helping organize the event. You must be the most talented photographer I've ever seen, he said, approaching her after the shoot had wrapped. Thank you, that's very kind of you to say, Olivia replied, blushing slightly. I can see the passion in every frame you capture. You truly love what you do, don't you? Luke asked. Yes, it's more than a job for me. It's a way to see the world from a different perspective, she said, feeling how effortlessly the conversation flowed with him. Luke was not only intrigued by her work but also proved to be an attentive and engaging conversationalist. They exchanged numbers, and a few days later, he invited her out for coffee. Talking to him felt natural and easy. He turned out to be someone who not only listened but also offered genuine support. Their meetings became more frequent. They strolled through parks, discussed books and movies, and laughed at the little things. Luke admitted that he admired her determination to reclaim her dreams. You know, not everyone has the courage to completely turn their life around, he said one evening during dinner. It takes incredible bravery. I wasn't always this brave, Olivia admitted. But now I realize that you can't live your life solely for someone else. Sometimes, you have to choose yourself. Luke supported her in everything. When he saw how extraordinary her work was, he even suggested helping organize an exhibition of her photographs. With each passing day, Olivia felt that her life was finally coming together. Her work brought her fulfillment, and Luke filled her days with warmth and support. She no longer felt the pain of her past. Instead, she looked ahead, confident that the best moments of her life were yet to come. Olivia's exhibition was a milestone in her career. Luke had meticulously organized everything, a spacious gallery, stylish frames for the photographs, and even a catered reception for the guests. For Olivia, it wasn't just a professional event, it was proof that she had reclaimed her life and put it on the right track. On the day of the exhibition, the gallery filled with people, friends, clients, colleagues, and even strangers who had come to admire her work. Olivia felt a mix of nerves and pride as she watched people marvel at her photographs. Suddenly, she noticed a familiar face. Sophia was standing by one of the photographs, intently examining it. Her presence was unexpected, but Olivia decided not to avoid the encounter. She walked over. Sophia, she said cautiously. Sophia turned, and a hint of surprise crossed her face before it softened into a smile. Olivia. I didn't know this was your exhibition. Your work is incredible. Thank you, Olivia replied, feeling slightly bashful. I didn't realize you were interested in photography. Sophia nodded slightly. I'm not just interested, I practice it myself. After everything that happened, I decided to change my life too. Photography has always been a passion of mine, but I never dared to make it a part of my life. Then I thought, why not? Olivia smiled, sensing a new connection forming between them. That's amazing. I know how hard it is to take that step, but it seems like you've truly found your calling. And your work, Sophia said, motioning toward the photographs, is so inspiring. There's something special in each piece that makes you stop and think. Thank you, Olivia said sincerely. If you'd like, I can show you some of my techniques. It would be great to share ideas. Sophia's smile widened. That would be wonderful. Honestly, I've been meaning to talk to you for a while. After that day at the clinic, I kept thinking about you and felt so guilty. But seeing you now, it's clear you've found your place in life. Sophia, you have nothing to feel guilty about, Olivia said gently. We were both deceived. But now we have the chance to start fresh. I'm glad you've also found your passion. They continued talking for several minutes, discussing photography, their plans, and even laughing over humorous moments related to work. Sophia shared that she was working on a series of portraits and asked Olivia for advice. From that day on, their communication became regular. They exchanged ideas, went on shoots together, and even planned a collaborative project. Sophia became more than just an acquaintance, she became a true friend who understood Olivia like no one else. This friendship was further proof that every challenging situation has a way forward. Sometimes, the most unexpected encounters can lead to something beautiful. Olivia and Luke spent more and more time together. Their relationship was effortless, filled with trust and warmth. Luke became not just a loving partner, but also a pillar of support for Olivia. He understood her creativity, inspired her, and always found the right words to uplift her spirit. One warm evening, as the sun set in hues of orange and pink, Luke invited Olivia to dinner at the restaurant where they had first met. She was surprised, but delighted by the spontaneous outing. They sat by a window with a breathtaking view of the city, bathed in golden light. Do you remember this restaurant? Luke asked with a smile. How could I forget? This place was the beginning of something special, she replied, looking into his eyes. When dessert was served, Luke stood from his chair, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small velvet box. Dropping to one knee, Olivia froze, her breath caught in her throat. Olivia, he began, his voice steady yet tender, you've brought light and joy into my life. You've shown me that true happiness is loving and being with someone who inspires you. Will you marry me? Tears filled Olivia's eyes, but they were tears of happiness. She smiled and softly said, yes. Luke slipped the ring onto her finger, and they embraced. In that moment, the world seemed to stop, leaving just the two of them in a magical moment. The wedding was simple yet warm and heartfelt. They chose to have the ceremony outdoors, in a blooming garden. Close friends and family were the only guests. Sophia was among the first to congratulate Olivia, even helping with some of the arrangements. Olivia looked stunning in her lace-adorned dress, while Luke appeared every bit the gentleman in his light-colored suit. During the exchange of vows, Luke said, I promise to always support your dreams and stand by you in joy and hardship. Olivia replied, and I promise to love you with all my heart and to cherish every day we share. Among the guests was Luke's cousin, Alex, who had spent years living abroad and rarely attended family gatherings. He watched the wedding with intrigue, but his attention was especially drawn to Sophia. They struck up a conversation during the reception and discovered they shared a love for travel and art. You're a photographer? Alex asked, admiring some of her work she showed him on her phone. Yes, and it's more than just work. It's a part of who I am, Sophia replied. Their conversation continued late into the evening, and by the end of the celebration, it was clear that something special had sparked between them. Alex jokingly promised to meet her again during his next visit. Olivia and Luke's married life was filled with love and mutual support. They worked on new projects together, traveled, and cherished each day. Luke was an attentive and caring husband who always made time to show Olivia how much she meant to him. One evening, as they relaxed on the couch after a long day, Olivia looked at Luke with tenderness and said, Luke, there's something I want to tell you. What is it? my love?" he asked, slightly concerned but smiling. Olivia took his hand, her eyes glowing with happiness. "We're going to have a baby." Luke froze for a moment before his face lit up with joy. He hugged her and lifted her off the ground, laughing with excitement. "This is the best news of my life," he exclaimed. "I can't even describe how happy I am." They sat together, holding hands, making plans for the future. For Olivia, this was the moment she realized that all the challenges and trials she had endured had led her to this place of happiness. Life was just beginning, with so much beauty yet to come. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new stories.